Dragon's Dogma is one of the most beloved underrated RPGs of the modern era of gaming. Its expansive gameplay... Okay, let me just skip the generic intro. You know what this is, I know what you're looking for. This game is amazing. For over 10 years, I've been playing this game and loving it one playthrough after another, one vocation after another. I have bought this game 4 different times, and I don't regret a single cent. With the release of Dragon's Dogma 2 right around the corner, I want to see the game in full, probably one last time. Undergo the entire Dragon's Dogma experience, quest by quest, as if it was my first time playing. So I fired up a brand new save file, brand new character, and played through the game, passing each quest, re-evaluating how good each one is in gameplay, lore enrichment, how important they are to the game, and of course, the most important one of all, fun. I will only include main and side quests. Notice board quests will not be included. Oh, and I won't include any of the Dark Arisen content in this list, since the DLC is more of a long experience that isn't quite divided by quests. But, you know, if it were to be ranked, you already know it would be at the top of the list. It's Dark Arisen. Without any further ado, this is every Dragon's Dogma quest, ranked from worst to best.
Simone. 'Tis my name, Simone.
Can you imagine? The hero of the world reduced to a babysitter? Escort duty. Probably one of, if not the most infamous quests in the whole game. If you followed all the quests up to this point, you've had encounters with goblins, hobgoblins, harpies, cults, saurians, cyclops, hydras, and the most annoying of them all, a little girl. Fornival, esteemed bald rich asshole from Grand Soren, apparently can't find a single other person other than the Arisen to babysit her girl, Simone.
The Arisen for a servant. Yes, I think I like this.
As she takes you through the city. The market, a game of hide and seek, and of course, the famous race. This quest would be annoying enough as it is, but the caveat here is that if done perfectly, meaning if you achieve every goal that Simone and the game put forward without telling you, it will reward you with one of the best items you can get in the base game, the Gold Idol. The Gold Idol allows you to purchase and upgrade the best weapons and armor you can buy in the base game. Of course, all of this was changed with the addition of Dark Arisen and the expansion, making most of the base weapons completely obsolete. But that's besides the point. It just baffles my mind how you could put such an item in such a weird and slow mission. I guess it's just like a big joke. Now, you can easily fail this mission or get a lesser reward by walking too fast in front of Simone, walking too slow behind Simone, not finding her fast enough in hide and seek, falling behind as she looks through the market, shoving her accidentally if she runs accidentally into you while getting the zoomies, not having a flask of water when she needs one. Also, this is basically the beginning of the game. Why the fuck would I have a flask of water in my inventory? Not letting her win the race fairly, winning the race. Yeah, this quest is annoying. No, it's not necessary to beat the game, but it is necessary to hate on it every playthrough.
Season 40. Well done. You've completed your job.
Strengthening numbers is what I would call the quintessential useless quest. This is given to you right after Call of the Arisen, a quest that shows you how exciting and big missions can be, even when we're just a low-level Arisen. This quest reels it back in to give you training lessons. Training lessons? Just to recap, we've played a prologue that acted as a tutorial. We fought goblins, snow harpies, a freaking chimera, and a cyclops. Bet you're right, game. Let me just carry these boxes and destroy training dummies. Right after fighting said cyclops. I guess I understand that it's supposed to show you how your newly acquired pawns will act in action, but I think they could have done that in actual gameplay. I don't quite understand the placement of this quest here. It doesn't really show us anything new. It feels like we're just showing off for Sir Burn.
Enough!
Do you like escort quests? Of course you do. Everyone loves escort quests, especially with an actual escort. Okay, I'm sorry, Madeleine Sims. This quest takes place in Casardis, if you choose to come back after Call of the Arisen. So, you guessed it, another really missable quest. In your first encounter with Madeleine, she asked you if you could escort her to the encampment, which is simple enough. The only problem is that not only did we just do this with the Rook, like 30 minutes ago, but she doesn't help in combat whatsoever like Rook did. She also stops to scavenge gold and other trash off the floor. Come on. You wanna know the cherry on top? When you deliver her to the encampment, she'll ask you for 1,000 gold, which truthfully isn't that much, even by the beginning of the game standards, but that's not the point. Who are you? Why do you want my help and my money? I hate you.
Please, accept this gift with my compliments.
Search party. Oh man. Search party. I'm gonna start by the beginning. And I mean the beginning. When escorting Rook to the encampment, you'll see a fool, Reynard, being harassed by goblins. Do not save this man. This man will send you on a wild goose chase to end all wild goose chases. But for the sake of this video, I must do it. To even start Search Party, you first have to flag down Reynard, who is at all times in one of these 5 places: Casardis, the encampment, Grand Soren, the Great Wall encampment, and the rest camp in Devilfire Grove. Only staying in each place for 2 days at a time. I was extremely lucky that Reynard did not move from Casardis, either by luck or a glitch. It was an amazing thing. Now imagine doing this without a Ferris Stone on your first playthrough. I mean, it's impossible, trust me. Because once you flag him down, you have to go through 10 different purchases. And I don't mean buy 10 items, I mean you have to buy one measly item, complete the purchase, exit out of the dialogue, go back in, buy another item. 10 items, 10 times. Once you've done that, Reynard will like you. Oh wow. So now he'll ask you for a favor. Get him a scrap iron, which is a pretty standard item, which I didn't have it, weirdly enough. Since this was a one and done playthrough, I wasn't really grinding or picking up items, so I actually had to grind for it. Which I don't really blame the quest for this. Possibly the only time in the game where I had to do this. Okay, here's your scrap iron. Now 5 more items, 5 more times. Seriously, more purchases so he can like us enough until he asks us to bring him miasmite. So you bring him the miasmite. Doing this will finally give you the actual mission, in which he tells you that he's been looking for his father all along, and he has been looking for clues of his whereabouts. Wild Goose Chase Part 2. Honestly, I kinda like this part. It's supposed to be a quest that will last throughout your playthrough, since the clues or journal entries are scattered throughout Grances, detailing the story of what happened to Reynard's father. The first journal entry found in the encampment, the second one in the catacombs, the third one in Grand Soren, the fourth in Barda Crags, the fifth one in Soulflayer Canyon, and the fifth one is found in the quarry. The journal entries detail the story of Reynard's father getting revenge on the Hydra for destroying his home and killing his wife, detailing his adventure and then his death in the quarry. They couldn't even get us a happy ending after all of that? Bringing back the journal entries will finish the quest. I mean, I gotta admit, Reynard's father's story is touching, heroic even. I love reading the entries and finding out what happened. I just wish the overall mission was more about the second half than the first. After returning to Reynard with the complete journal entries, he will thank the Arisen and leave forever. He won't be around anymore. Good.
I'm grateful for your aid, Arisen.
You know what's worse than a bad quest? A boring quest. The soldiers in Windbluff Tower need rations. You go tell Julian how many rations they need. How many? Well, he just told you. Alright? That's it. The only redeeming quality of this quest is getting the Windbluff key. which gets you the Melioran. Not gonna lie, this wasn't as bad as I thought. Off with its head is one of the most infamous quests in Dragon's Dogma. Everyone knows how much of a slog it is, and everyone tries to avoid it as much as they can. But that's the beautiful thing. You can't. After defeating the Hydra in a rude awakening, Mercedes tells you how grateful and impressed the Duke will be with you if you were to deliver the head of the Hydra. So she tells you to head to the Way Castle, a midpoint between the encampment and Grand Soren. All of this is fine and dandy. The walk to the Way Castle is a normal trail with some bandits and wolves thrown in there for variation. You get to the Way Castle when the second part of the quest starts. The part everyone remembers. Escorting the goddamn ox. Escorting an ox sounds simple enough until you realize that the ox has a life bar. That's right, an escort with a life bar. How wonderful. The path to Grand Soren isn't very long, but with multiple escorts at your side and waiting for the ox to catch up can make it constantly longer than just traveling on foot, as goblins, harpies, and wolves try attacking you. Halfway through, you'll encounter a goblin ambush, and the first instance of a lever shows in the game, and you're there. At a quick glance, this mission seems like a simple enough escort mission in which you get to be exposed to new locations, new enemies, and new mechanics, which, yes, it's true. And it does those things, well, let's get into it. Remember how I mentioned the ox had a life bar? It's more like a stamina bar. The ox, as far as I can tell, cannot die. The ox can lose stamina if you hit it, enemies hit it, or you kick it. Kicking the ox grants a very brief boost in speed, and it's something that apparently a lot of people miss. And I can see how. It is the only instance in which you will ever see this function in the whole game, and the quest doesn't mention it at all. Of course, like I mentioned, if you kick the ox, it loses stamina. How much stamina the ox has, it'll determine how fast it goes. Most people, again, might have missed that function. You can fill the ox's stamina with a healing spell. Either you or your pawn can cast it. As I'm playing Strider in this run, I couldn't heal my ox, but good old Stinky Kong had my back. Some last details I dislike about this quest is how empty it feels to travel. When there's no monsters around, the silence can be painfully awkward. There's the Arisen, 3 pawns, 2 royal guards, and Mercedes, and not one of them can say anything remotely interesting. This could have been an amazing opportunity to flesh out Mercedes' character, to give the royal guard some intent or background lore, for them to talk about the Duke or Grand Soren so the player could be excited to see the biggest city in the game. But no. They just repeat the same lines about how close we are, and of course your pawns are oblivious to everything as always. As you get closer, the city is right in front of you, and with little fanfare you reach Grand Soren. Inside, Mercedes tells you how she'll talk to the Duke about you. Then Mason tells you about the pawns, directing you to the next point in the storyline. And well, that's it. I think I've made enough points about how disappointing this quest is. In the first playthrough, in the second playthrough, and every playthrough, since it makes a little difference how strong you are, since you still have to wait for the ox. So next time someone tells you Off with His Head sucks, well, they're not wrong. It's not great. Nameless Terror is one of those missions that everyone can agree is wasted potential. The idea of a group of people that are out to get the main character isn't new at all, but could be potentially fun. The group could be out there lurking to strike us, or even plotting to sabotage our quest. The very cutscene for Nameless Terror shows a scary group planning and ready to jump at you. To everyone's disappointment, it's just a bunch of bandits. Actually, no, it's worse than bandits. It's named bandits with wasted potential. We get a warning from one of the guards in front of Grand Soren. Apparently, we have a fan club that's been asking too many questions about us. All we get is the ominous quest description, "Beware of ambush." Ooh, I wonder where they'll ambush me. Grand Soren? Maybe in the middle of the night, like on Elder Scrolls? Or maybe they're rogue assassins hired by the Duke? Or hired by Salvation? No? None of those? Really? This is one of the very few Dragon's Dogma quests with no markers. Instead, you'll have to find these ambushes scattered throughout Grances. Now with that out of the way, I want to point out the elephant in the room. Or rather, the raven in the room. Like and subscribe. The bandits are severely underleveled. All of them, actually, can be disposed of with a simple normal combo, no skills required. This, combined with their corny ass lines, just makes me laugh when I play this mission. I'm starting to think this quest was an inside joke in the game, but there's nothing in the game that matches this type of cringe. So what the fuck? I believe this quest was supposed to be given earlier than we were actually given access to, giving us a chance to be ambushed while we're just exploring, and the bandits actually being somewhat of a challenge. But the vagueness of the quest, being only able to be ambushed at night, the ambushes happening in places that we no longer travel through, and the enemies being a complete joke, I absolutely dread just thinking about this quest. As a cherry on top, I like to leave you with the fight against the head of the bandits at the very end of the quest, Zero.
You stood tall against my nameless men, Arisen. But you will find my challenge of a different caliber. I am the great darkness. Part of everything, part of every...
I support you.
And I am your doom.
Leave it to us! 'Tis a troubling foe.
I see you now, for a true Arisen.
Yep.
I've learned what to do in this quest.
A curative will...
Hey, you made it through the worst quests in the game. Congratulations. Before continuing, I just wanted to put a really fast plug in. Please check out my Twitch channel, the best variety Twitch channel on the website. I'm going to be playing Dragon's Dogma 2 as soon as it comes out, and probably through the remaining of the week until I beat it, if not more. I've been waiting for this game forever, so you bet your ass I'm going to be streaming it. Again, please check out the Twitch, you won't regret it. Now back to the ranking. Upon a Pawn is less of a quest and more of a walking simulator. After the quest Newly Arisen, you are prompted to follow the path down to the Casordus gates, where the rift opens up only to introduce you to Rook, your very own pawn. The exposition explains the pawns and their inclination towards you. But I believe this is much better done during Call of the Arisen, which we'll see much later. In here you walk to the encampment, kill 3 scripted goblins harassing Reynard, and that's all. Only redeeming factor about Upon a Pawn? Rook. I hate this motherfucker. And I know you do too. Maribel, the personal handmaiden of Eleanor, asks to meet with us at night, since the topic is far too controversial to be said out in public. So we come back at night, where Maribel finally tells us that Eleanor would like to see us in private. We are warned time and time again to be careful and not to be spotted. But it's literally impossible to be spotted. The Duke must have hired blind guards because this game is not made with sneaking in mind. Once upstairs, we see unfold one of the most memorable scenes in the game. A touching intimate scene is interrupted by the Duke and Festi. The Duke goes on a mad rambling, haunted by nightmares of his presumed dead wife, whom he traded the riches and fortune for when battling the dragon. I love that detail. The only reason I interrupt her imminent death is because of her next mission, A Duchess in Distress, which would be cancelled. This is all fine and dandy until she turns on us and accuses the Arisen of entering uninvited. That bitch! In all of the confusion, they throw you in the dungeon where Eleanor tries to help by giving us some skeleton keys, and thus, we're free. A very exposition heavy quest showing the personalities of some very exclusive NPCs. Too bad they happen to be one of the most unlikable NPCs in the whole game.
This pawn is called Barnaby. I tend to be fairs at the Pawn Guild.
Another cutscene quest. A Matter of Myrmidon starts as soon as you deliver the Hydra head after Off With Its Head. Mason starts talking to you about the pawns and how you're destined to be with them, and them be with you. So you walk to the Pawns Guild, talk to Barnaby, and yeah, good quest. I don't know if I should even mention quests like these, but they're quests nonetheless. I do like that this mission is a prelude to Lure of the Abyss, one of the best quests in the game. But why couldn't this be part of that? Just a big mission. It makes sense to me. I gotta give it to this quest though, it does an okay job at making the pawns interesting, and makes me want to know more about them, but again, it was done better in Lure of the Abyss.
Pawn Guild, War Pawn Guild, Pawn Guild. My thanks. It is sensitive.
The second fetch quest in the game. Lost Faith takes place in Cassardis, where the father of the chapel asks for your help. He tells you he lost the scriptures he usually uses for the injured folk. You go out to find them just for a kid to tell you that he took them because he was curious.
It was me. I confess it. I took
The game
father's
shows you
book
where
from
they
the
are,
chapel.
then you return them. I wish there was more to say about this quest. I don't mind fetch quests, especially early on, but there's just nothing here. You never talk to either of these NPCs ever again. It's not like there's some sort of lore that will flourish out of them. Boring old quest.
Aye, that's the one! You found it!
Being one of the first missions available to you in the game, I can't really be upset at how basic this quest is, so I'll just tell it how it is. A nurse in Cassardis needs medicine to heal the injured following the dragon's attack on the town. To make the medicine, you need 5 sunblight and 1 moonglow. Sunblight can be found around big trees outside the town, and moonglow can be found near the shores at night. Pretty simple. You can encounter some enemies on the way to get flowers, and there's plenty of residents who will hint at the locations of said flowers. Not bad, not great. A fetch quest.
Now to make some medicine.
Kina is back! Kina now resides in the Abbey where she's practicing healing and general knowledge of religion. She asks you to look after her flower and find a professional's opinion on her work. For the flower is no boring flower, but a healing flower she worked on herself. You take it to a clergyman, then back. I really don't have much to say about it. It's a simple quest, as simple as you can get. It's nice to get some background information as to what Kina has been up to, but I think it would have benefited from being fused with a party and gift quest. Or at the very least some other quest with Kina on it, either in between the two quests or before. She's very, very underutilized after the intro.
Cortez made his choice. He faced his end with valor and died a man.
Grim Tidings is an extremely missable quest, and an extremely forgettable one as well. Your job is to tell one Cassardis resident that his brother died during the dragon attack, since he's too scared to do it himself. That's it. Then you report back. I do like that the quest opens some lore about the people in Cassardis, and the repercussions that the attack of the dragon left. One of these being the death of innocent people, that has literally no part in the Arisen's quest. I do like that. Games don't usually show up or tell you that these NPCs have their own lives, motives, and emotions and lore behind them. I just wish that there was more gameplay to this. At the very least, more dialogue to flesh out the true meaning of their loss. A very simple quest. Basically, just one cutscene. Reward and responsibility has to do finally rewarding you for your hard work. We make our way to the man's treasury, where he can't open his magic chest because I gave him a fake one. Oops. For all it's worth, all you get from the chest is a paladin's mantle, a cape that it's not all that worth it. After this, a guard comes to tell the Duke that trouble is rising from the Great Wall, starting the quest, Deny Salvation. Not much else to say about this quest. The rewards aren't great, and the Duke just feels like an empty wall reciting his lines. Not sure what they were trying to go for here, except maybe trying to reward the player for all the quests have done. Except it's not in such a great way.
And I was taught that Arisen were friends of the weak. What is the matter?
As savior of the world, you'll naturally be battling monsters that impose humanity, investigate dangerous cults, and, of course, evicting poor people from their houses.
Please convince the residents that leaving quickly is in the best interests of all.
Land of Opportunity is the first time you'll interact with Fornival. It'll task you with evicting the tenants from one of the Fornival's estates. So you go talk to the 3 members of the family, Jasper, Sarah, and Pip. Jasper tells you that he can't come up with an answer until he knows the decision of the other 2. Sarah tells you that she can't make up her mind and to come back tomorrow. Pip, he just randomly runs away at 1 second. You just gotta chase him, I guess. If you've played the quest before, then you know exactly where you find them, but I remember playing this for the first time and not knowing where the hell to go. Especially because the first place he runs to is the top of a house. You catch him there, he runs away again. The second time is easier, he just goes behind the alehouse. I understand talking to everyone to come to a senses, but how come Jasper can't talk to his own family about this? They live in the same house, and Sarah waits a day to make up her mind. Why the fuck do you have to talk to them? On top of this, Jasper refused to appear in my game. No matter what time, no matter what location, he just did not want to show up. I mean, I get it. I would be hiding too if I were to be evicted. So he shows up, you tell him the bad news, and then he has the gall to ask for money. There's 2 ways to finish this quest. You can evict Jasper's family by paying him 30,000 gold, so they can have enough money to live by. Or you can pay Fornival the money to buy the land, 80,000 gold, so Jasper's family can stay in their home. Now, if you're playing this quest early on like me, you'll notice that you'll have no money at all. So evicting Jasper and giving him the 30,000 gold is the way to go. But I understand most people want to have this so-called good ending and buy the land for Jasper so everyone is happy. Fornival gets his money, Jasper family gets a home, everyone's happy, right? Well, once you beat Gregory and the post-ending game starts, you know, with all the... Pip tells you that Jasper and Sarah died during the... So the game punishes you for trying to be good? Not only did you spend a shitload of gold trying to save them, but everyone hates you now. Thanks a lot, Pip. Valmiro is a complicated character. It seems that Arisens hate him, love him, relate to him, forgive his clumsiness, adore him. I personally hate him. Valmiro is such a useless character that it makes me cringe just even doing his quests for the sake of this video. You'll first encounter Valmiro in the early mission, Dying of Curiosity. You'll find Valmiro passed out on the beach begging for healing herbs. You give him a greenwash, and then he tells you that he likes ideas? He explains to you that he likes adventuring, and then he's gonna go try adventuring near the encampment. So you go to the encampment. After that, he just says,
perhaps to the Witchwood next.
So we go to the Witchwoods, and there he is. 3 additional greenwash are needed this time. At least this time around, he tells you that he'll stay out of trouble, and well, that's it. Or is it?
2,000 years later.
The second part of this quest, Farewell Valmiro, comes much later in the game. You visit Cacerdes as you see your old pal Valmiro looking passionately onto the sunset. He tells you that he wants to forget the fishing life and trade it for adventuring. And he's such a good adventurer that he's gonna ask you for free items, not even directly, by the way. He'll just give you a clue of what it is while he stands there waiting. This time around, he needs a potent greenwash, a lantern, sour ambrosial meat, and a pilgrim's charm. A lantern and a potent greenwash are pretty easy to have, and chances are by this point of the game, you already have it in your inventory. A pilgrim's charm can be easily bought from Fornival. You can get ambrosial meat from the corpses of griffins, but I got lucky. I found one in a chest. After handing in the items, he has the balls to ask for your help carrying his boxes to his boat. And I gotta say, it's kinda endearing seeing all of your pawns help out by carrying all of the boxes in the beach.
Hello. Dried fish are a local staple.
When it's all done, Valmir will invite you to a drink in a scene that's really romantic for some reason. If his quests weren't so goddamn boring, I would really like this cutscene. It draws you back from all the end of the world stuff and shows you the problems that an everyday fisher has. If his quests weren't so goddamn boring and his character wasn't so annoying, I would really like this cutscene. It draws you back from all the end of the world stuff and shows you the problems of an everyday fisher, his ambitions, his life belonging. But damn, it could have been way better than a boring fetch quest.
The journey will not be easy. Dawn is breaking. I'd best be off.
One of the most interesting subplots of the game is Salvation, a cult that worships and welcomes the destruction that the dragon brings. Chasing Shadows continues the storyline that has been breadcrumbed throughout the last few missions. The sigil on the Cyclops' head, the Hydra during a rude awakening, and of course that little midget fuck Elysion. Mason tells the Arisen that there's someone in the castle who might be an inside spy for Salvation. So you tail Julian, who's seen late at night talking to a man in black robes. I love the theme and further lore implications of this mission, but it all boils down to a tailing mission. Julian slowly makes his way through the castle stairs, market, and residential area until he finally makes it up to Mercedes' shop. Again, I love the lore implications of this and how much it sets up for Salvation and Julian being a part of all that. But, a tailing mission? I've had more than enough tailing missions playing the PS2 Grand Theft Auto games, and they're not even fun there. At least the path is relatively short here, and we're rewarded with
The talent, but cost of temperament.
Madeleine wants an idol figure. Caxton wants an idol figure. Whatever will we do? So the simple matter is, you give the idol to Madeleine if you want better magic items. You give the idol to Caxton if you want his better items. Seriously, just give it to Caxton. Now you need either the gold idol, the silver idol, or the bronze idol. Depending on which you deliver to who, you'll get better rewards respectively. Well, yeah, the gold idol. Remember escort duty? Well, yeah, I don't have much else to say about that, but that's the only way to get the gold idol. The second prize winner gets the silver idol. The only way to get the silver idol is by completing the board quest, Put the Eye Out, in which you'll kill a Cyclops at the Frontier Caverns. You can also get a bronze idol, but it's just not worth it. Suppliers demand and idol worship is a pretty cool way to expand the inventory of the stores in an inventive way. Only real downside is how hard getting the gold idol is.
Bestowed upon only the most valued customers. It bears a curious look.
Ending to my duties as a royal maid, and a nobleman spoke nearby, yes?
The Arisen chases down a kid in Cassardis, as he tells you that his father, Ansel, a gardener in the Duke's Demons, has gone missing. And after inquiring, you find out that he's been wrongly imprisoned. So as Arisen, it's only right you set this straight. When you get to the dungeon, you'll see Festi and a guard that are guarding the dungeon. They do not give a shit. I found this so funny. Either they ran out of time, money, or just forgot to code it. I don't know, I just find it so funny that you need to go through all this trouble, while in truth, nobody really cares. It really adds to the ambiance that the Duke is absolutely bananas and doesn't care what happens to the people. I know that's not true, but it's my headcanon. You take Ansel through the sewers behind the dungeon, but man, this guy is a coward. I guess I can't really blame him. If I saw a rat or a spider that went up to my ankles, I would act the same way. You go through the sewers until you finally reach the aqueduct, where the poor people live. Mission accomplished. Not much to say about this one, pretty simple and straightforward. I wish there was more risk to break in someone out of jail, but seeing literally no one care about it other than the dad and his kid, it just makes me not care either.
The rocks are just these together,
Not that I am one.
Reaper's Scorn is a very simple quest. A father shares his sorrows with the Arisen. His son is dead, but he has heard of a magical item that can bring the dead back to life, known as a Wake Stone. If you put hundreds of hours into Dragon's Dogma as I think you have, then you're more than familiar with the Wake Stones. But on your first go around, this is a pretty interesting quest that will introduce you to them. Then the father asks you to gather a Wake Stone to revive his dead son, telling you he's looked into magic and curses. Pretty morbid as far as early missions go. He'll give you 2 Wakestone shards to start off. You can now offer him a Wakestone if you happen to have one this early in the game, which is doubtful, or you can find a 3rd Wakestone shard to complete the Wakestone. If you combine 3 Wakestone shards, it'll become a whole one. Naturally, I went to the Black Cat and bought a shard for cheap, thus combining them, and boom! It's an extremely simple quest, but I do like that they armed this whole narrative just to show you how Wakestones work. I wish they did this with other items, like if they gave you a lesson on teleporting as they hand you a fairy stone, or maybe a quest on retrieving a port crystal then coming back there. I know you can do this outside of quests, but I like the immersion. You give the Wakestone to the dead son, he wakes up, and they're happily ever after.
Never addicted to craft. My steps will be lighter knowing I bear the support of such fine friends.
The follow-up to Talent and Bloom, the Flower Quest. A parting gift has the Arisen gather a gift for Kina as she gets ready to depart for the Grand Cathedral to learn more about her powers and the dragon, so she may be of more help to the Arisen. Isn't she nice? Clarice, the Mother Superior of the Abbey, asks the Arisen to get, you guessed it, a parting gift for Kina, a Pilgrim's Charm. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this, like handing it in right there if you have it in your inventory, or buying one from Fornival, but we'll do it the correct way. Finding one in the catacombs, which is how you get the most rewards for the quest too. We go to the catacombs where we find Kina, who knew about the parting gift and says she wants to help you get it. I like that this section is not really an escort mission, but Kina is a mage who can defend herself and the party too. So imagine my surprise when the only enemy they throw at you is one measly specter. One. There isn't even any zombies or skeletons. It's so weird. Just some random spiders. After all the trouble of coming down here and how important getting the item is, you would think that the stakes would be a little higher, but nope. One specter. After defeating it, you get the Pilgrim's Charm. And you even get a nice ceremony cutscene when you get back. And well, that's it. After this, Kina is gone until the end of the game, when she comes back if she's your beloved. Cute quest if you like Kina and her storyline. Otherwise, it's just another basic fetch quest. After completing all the Worm Hunt quests, those being Decipher, A Fortress Besieged, Seeking Salvation, and the Water God's Altar, the Arisen will finally be invited to court, seeking an audience in front of officials and of course, Duke Edmund Dragonbane. Although this quest is nothing more than a cutscene, it's one of the most memorable cutscenes in the game. Finally being given access to the castle for your hard work seeing all of the important NPCs gathered around the main court and being inducted as an official member of the Worm Hunt. And of course, being given the dunce cap by Fisty. Simple, but charming. Metal against fucking metal. You fight a metal golem. Alright, that's it. Alright, I'll get into it. As you've seen, I've been playing as a magic archer. My main pawn, loyal, valiant, Stinky Kong, a mage. The game puts on forth a mission with one single goal: destroy a metal golem, a new enemy up until this point. The only enemy in the whole game that is 100% impervious to magic. I am not shitting you. The actual metal golem is immune to any type of damage. Instead, you have to destroy the medallions powering the metal golem. Cool idea. I really like the idea. It's awesome. A monster who's not only powerful but has an interesting way to take him down? So why the fuck can I not destroy the medallions with magic? I mean, I get it, they're magic, and maybe they wanted to put an extra challenge, but damn man. I would much rather have a damage reduction or something like that. And trust me, I'm a stubborn bastard. I tried doing all the tricks. Using only melee, letting your pawns do the work, letting the metal golem damage its own medallions. But it wasn't enough. So after like 3 or 4 attempts, I left, changed my vocation from magic archer to ranger, and Stinky Kong's vocation from sorcerer to warrior. Not gonna lie, it was disheartening to see that I couldn't play what I wanted. Going back to the metal golem, it wasn't exactly a walk in the park. I was still pretty underleveled, but we put up a good fight, and even died one more time. But overall, it was a good fight, when you're the right vocation. It is the only reason it is so low. Just casting aside vocations, it's just racist, man. And that's not cool.
I must say, before leaving Cassidus with you, my life was utterly hopeless.
Madeleine mysteriously disappeared. Our job is to find out what happened. It appears all of Madeleine's bad business has caught up to her, with the common folk gossiping about how she was dealing with contraband goods and buying and selling items through salvation. Naturally, we inquire after her, who had been fleeing all day. When we find her, she tells us that she's lost everything because of this witch hunt, and even gives us an option to snitch on her. But as much as I hate her, I'm no snitch. Before going off for good, she asks one more time for money. Jesus Christ. Get out of here. Fuck off.
Coming back to Cassidus after Grand Sorin, we find our first innkeeper, Pablos, in a pickle. Himself and many other storekeepers tell the Arisen that they've been suffering from robberies at night. So the Arisen puts his sheriff's star on and pulls an all-nighter. I stayed inside the inn, waiting for the robber, one eye on each door. From my experience, the robber would always pass by the inn, leaving himself open when opening the door. Well, this never happened this time around. It's funny, I've been playing through this game for like the 8th time, and I still see different ways that NPCs act. Anyway, the second I came out to see what the hell was going on, he shows up, and I picked him up. Easiest job ever. Pablo tells us that the robber is part of the Iron Hammer Bandits. We'll see more of this robber later, and no honor among thieves. I like how simple this quest is. It draws back the end of the world business, and has the Arisen help out the people that they grew up with in their hometown. I think I'm reading too much into it, but I like to think of it as a hero helping out the neighborhood.
I'd have been impressed had I not been so angry.
Order! I will have order!
Well. If it's not the richest bald guy in Grances needing help from the babysitter. Trial and Tribulations might be the most looked up quest in the whole game. And by that I mean that no one knows what the hell to do. So might as well look it up on the wiki. Don't get me wrong, I really like the concept of this. Leaving the combat and adventuring aside and trying out your Arisen hand, that law. Audios expects the Arisen to gather evidence for or against the case against Fornival, who apparently has been accused of, like, everything. Bribery, fraud, abduction, selling of secrets, and dealing with salvation. Whoa, wait a second. Abduction? Like kidnapping? Was this bowling pin of a person trafficking people? What the fuck? So you're given a plethora of options to gather evidence from. I'm gonna get to the point. There's two outcomes here. Outcome 1, Fornival dies. Outcome 2, Fornival doesn't die. You get nothing from Fornival dying, while the other option has Fornival give you a permanent discount on his wares. Doesn't sound too bad to me. I gathered evidence from a soldier, Fidel, Simone, and Jeffrey, hoping it would be enough to show his innocence. After sleeping for 3 days straight, everyone gathers around the fountain square to see my good work. I wonder how much the discount is gonna be for saving his life. 10%? Really? I should have let his head roll. 10%? What an insult.
From bondage forthwith. The inquest is hereby ended.
Newly Arisen is hard to categorize as a quest, since it's basically your character choosing a vocation. I chose Strider, then I exited, and that's it. This mission allows some further exposition for your missing heart and your connection to Kina. Cute. After she heals you, you exit her house where you're allowed to walk around Casardis for the first time in the game. Wow, look at that. It's fun to take a step back and appreciate the details and the map that get lost after so many hours of replaying the game. This fresh start really made me realize how pretty and approachable the world of Dragon's Dogma is.
But, I was.
Deep Trouble features the first dungeon of the game, if you could call this a dungeon. A royal guard tells you he cowered in fear as the dragon rampaged through Casardis, so he hid in the town well. As he was down there, he heard weird noises. Naturally, he tells a complete stranger this and asks you to investigate. If you followed the game quest by quest so far, then this would be the first time you experience rats, bats, snakes, and of course the main villain here, Saurians. Dripstone Cave isn't that big of a dungeon, but it does feature some alternative paths and hidden corners. Since this quest is featured at the beginning of the game, the Saurians will prove somewhat difficult, especially if you waste your time attacking them head on. You kill wave after wave, tail after tail chopped off. The only annoying thing about this location is how dark and wet it is. You kinda constantly unequip and equip your lantern to keep it dry, but of course, that's the point of the place. While this quest isn't mind-blowing by any meaning of the word, it's still a fun and straightforward quest. And of course, this won't be the last time we enter Dripstone Cave. Deeper Trouble takes you back to Dripstone Cave, where this time, a Casardis folk, Rorik, will tell you that you should get rid of the scary monsters once more. So in you go again, except this time a little bit deeper until you can't even see shit. Seriously, this place is so dark I can't even see the monsters. You'll have to battle through Saurians to get to your objective, the Saurian eggs. Battle through all of this and holy shit, Mama Saurian! I can't believe this is the only place you'll fight one outside the Bitter Black Isle. I wish all common monsters had a giant counterpart. Imagine a giant rat or a giant goblin. But oh my god, look at this. Isn't this awesome? It's gonna kick my ass. Oh, it's dead.
Okay. Oh, and the quest is over. Okay, well, that was anticlimactic. Of merchants and monsters take the arisen inside the spooky quarry as some random old guy asks you to open the gates, which are blocking the ways of traveling. Of course, it's not as simple as that, as you'll encounter enemies on the way. These include bats, snakes, bandits, goblins, zombies, and even an ogre. For such a small dungeon, they really jam-packed all sorts of enemies and loot in here. To open the gates, you'll have to stand on these pressure plates, an idea that I really like and I wish that were implemented more. I think it's used maybe 3 times in the whole game. The ogre seemed tough at first, especially since the first time we saw one it nearly killed our under-leveled asses. The same was about to happen until I realized that Sunflare is absolutely busted against ogres. The ogre kept being stunned until we slayed it. I'm not one to spam the same move over and over again, but I mean, it's pretty fun. Once you open the gate, the old man will ask you to clear the dungeon. Did I mention an ogre? Because there's actually 3 of them. It's crazy that they would place 3 ogres in such a small area, but it works. It's not too cramped, and sometimes they even hand you explosives to help you against them. I actually really like this location. Not only does it have a variety of interesting monsters and pathways, but when you clear it, it serves as a good shortcut between the 2 sides of the map when you don't have a fairy stone handy. Of Merchants and Monsters is a really straightforward quest, and I definitely wish they would have used this location for more than just 2 quests, but I'll take what I can get. Thick as Thieves, the only main quest revolving the Western Labrys bandits, or we'll just call it the female bandits, over the abandoned fort. It's common knowledge that the bandits will be aggressive towards you if you're a male arisen, or if you have any male pawns in your party. So then you have 3 choices: not have a male party member, not do the quest, or, naturally, dress up as a woman. Oh yeah, look at that beard. You can get ladies' garments to wear from the Black Cat, as many as you need. I like that they gave you different colors. Look at Stinky Kong and I. So we go back to the bandits, and this early in the game, it's a pretty fun trek up the mountain. You'll get ambushed by female bandits, and then on the cliff of the path to the fort, you'll fight even more bandits and 1 more Cyclops. It's more fun than it sounds, I promise. Ophis, the leader of the bandits, will give you a task of defeating 10 male bandits from their rival gang, the Iron Hammer. And who doesn't kill those bandits from time to time? But for a main quest, this sounds more like a boring notice board quest. Do that, and she'll give you the Badge of Amity, an item that grants you safe passage when dealing with Western Labrys bandits. Thankfully, there's another option. On the other side of the fort, there's a woman called Bataya. She'll give you the second task to feed Ophis' Cyclops. Yeah, she owns a pet Cyclops. And no, they don't elaborate on that. So obviously, you go feed the Cyclops, who prefers eating goblin. Yummy. You kill a goblin, feed it to the Cyclops. Okay, eat the fucking okay. You kill a goblin, feed it to the Cyclops, and there. Simple. Go back to Ophis and get your badge. While simple, I wish there was more lore or more explanation about the female bandits. This is the only mainline quest in which you interact with them, and if you know what you're doing, it can be done within minutes. So much wasted potential when it comes to factions lore. At least the Iron Hammer's got 2 quests. That's something, I guess.
From this day on, your family.
Mom took me in as a boy. Said he saw promising.
The second Iron Hammer quest, No Honor Among Thieves, serves as a duality to Thick as Thieves. With Thick as Thieves, you worked for the Western Labry bandits, and here, you go back to your old friends, the Iron Hammer. Same concept too. You can earn their trust and earn their badge of immunity from them by killing 10 female bandits. Or you can do the alternative route and go find the deserter Maul once killed. If you remember from an uninvited guest, Pike is a bandit that has been caught stealing from stores in Cassardis at night. So go back to your hometown and track him down. He'll share how he shamefully deserted the Iron Hammer and turned into a petty thief. You can either kill him or convince him to go back. It's nice when two seemingly unrelated quests connect later down the line. I mean, who knew that catching this random thief in this quest that lasts like 2 minutes will later come back to remind you about vows, paths of life, and doing what's right when it comes down to your own personal philosophy. This quest is no masterpiece, but I definitely got more enjoyment out of it than other side quests.
Make no mistake of that, but this is the path I chose for myself. I've no regrets.
Can you read the worm speak?
Lost and Found is a quest full of surprises. Adaro tells us that Kina has ventured to the Witchwoods, a faraway and dangerous forest, in hopes to find a cure for the Arisen's wound. We go after her, and what's the first time we go past the Mamma Mia trail? We fight wolves and rounds of bandits way stronger than our party before entering the foggy Witchwoods. In the Witchwoods, we found Kina shortly after, who's still in her quest to find a cure for your wound, talking about a witch that lives in these woods that could help. Venturing the Witchwoods is a piece of cake when you know where to go. I could go the right path with my eyes closed by now. But man, do you remember the first time you came in here, the trees barely visible, trying to find any type of frog medallion to destroy, the wolves ambushing you from every corner, the spiders throwing venom from across the corners, and of course, not knowing where the fuck to go. This is my favorite type of labyrinth, the type that doesn't look like one. What a great location. After figuring out the correct path, we come to an opening, and a house embedded into the biggest tree in the woods. Inside, the witch of these woods, Celine, gives us breadcrumbs as to what the main story really is about. Lost and Found is such a mystical quest, giving you new environments, NPCs, and elements that are placed well enough not to give you whiplash. This won't be the last time we visit the Witchwoods either.
Bind you to what you hold most dear, that it chose a ring.
After defeating the Metal Golem in Metal Against Metal, a mystical slate will show up where Sophia's grave lays. Pick it up and take it to the clergyman, who will tell you that it's in Wormspeak, and to go find the man who resides in Hellfigure Knoll, whom can translate the slate. It's weird that he tells you that in this way since you've already met the Dragonforged like 20 quests ago, but whatever. You go talk to the Dragonforged, who explains that the slate isn't a slate, but an object to be turned into a magical item, special to the Arisen. He turns the slate into the Arisen's Bond, an item that will max out an NPC's affinity, a system that mostly matters at the very end. For the curious, I immediately gave my Arisen's Bond to Celine. Yes, I know Mercedes exists, but Celine is underrated.
Follow if you wish, sir. I am off.
The first of the Worm Hunt quests. The cipher opens a plethora of lore corridors for the Arisen. We start with Sir Maximilian giving us a slate that no one can translate. This takes you to this random farmer, to the Black Cat, to, whatever, you know where to go. You know, the giant unmissable sign. You can just go straight there if you know. And if you've been following the quests closely, this will be your first time going this route, past the Windbluff Tower, Hellfigure Knoll. In here, you will meet the Fool, who resides with the Dragonforged. The Dragonforged is himself an Arisen from a long time ago, with the Fool being his pawn, with his only motive now being to lure the Arisen of the present time and guide them as much as he can. I won't get too much into the lore implications of this or why the fool looks like the Dragon Forge, but man, the lore that this opens up is so interesting, and I strongly recommend researching the Bestowal of Spirits lore and what it means when it comes to the Arisons and their pawns. This quest is pretty simple. Talk to this guy, travel here, travel back. But again, man, being so important to the lore, I have to at least put it up here. A troublesome tome is the first time you'll hear the mysterious name of Salamet.
Salamet's grimoire.
After getting to Grand Soren and Off with its head, Stefan will ask for your help in finding Salamet's grimoire, a mysterious book filled with magic studies, written by Salamet himself. You're tasked with learning more about the grimoire, which points you to ask Camellia, the girl that sells herbs and potions? Okay. This mission really made me realize that magic users are extremely underused within the main story. Without counting the Arisen, the pawns, and bandits, Salamet and to some extent Stefan are the only humans that actually practice magic. Sure, again, like I mentioned, some bandits use magic here and there, but that's the extent of it. And it's not like they're important bandits either, it's just random NPCs. We know that Salamet was once the head of the Council of Mages. Well, he was until he killed them all. But still, I wish there was more NPCs that dealt with magic, as it's a huge part of the gameplay. Anyway, after talking to Camellia, you have two possible ways to go about this. Investigate the Iron Hammer, the only boys club led by Maul, or the Western Labrys Bandits, the only girls club led by Ophis. The actual way to go is to walk all the way back to the Mamma Mia trail, where you'll randomly find Roland, the previous owner of the grimoire. You save him from the bandits. Don't attack him, you'll kill him, and you'll miss the dialogue. I've done that a lot of times. He'll tell you that the bandits stole his book, and took it back to the ruins of Ernst Castle, where the Iron Hammers reside. At this point of the game, we've traveled to the Mamma Mia trail before during Lost and Found, where we went to the Witchwood. Instead of going left, we'll go right this time towards the castle. Since starting a fresh save, I have forgotten that the bandits near the actual castle can be quite overpowering. Once inside, the bandits stop going after you for whatever reason. You talk to Maul, and he basically gives you two ways to get the grimoire. Fuck off, or get it by force. Meaning, killing all the bandits in the fort, including Maul. Now, I've never really done the violent option. I'm scared that the game will glitch and Maul won't show up for the other quests if I kill him. Especially with how easy you can find the grimoire. You can skip all the fighting, even all the dialogue, and just go to the top of the tower, open the chest, and bam, you found it. Take it back to Stefan and you're set. I do like it that in this mission you have to actually inquire about the grimoire. Of course, Dragon's Dogma is known to hold your hand when it comes to quests, so you'll know exactly where to go. But as far as this goes, it's pretty fun, and you get a little bit of lore, a little bit of action, weirdness, and Stefan, which we'll see later.
It'll take more. Help me!
Duchess in Distress. I used to hate this quest, for the sheer fact that Eleanor is involved. Yes, I am that petty. But upon replaying it, I relearned how special and unique this quest is. If you saved Eleanor during the quest arousing suspicion, Mirabelle will tell you that the Duke has sent his wife to his lighted manse, a giant mansion on the outskirts of Grances. Believing that she'll be imprisoned or killed, Mirabelle begs us to infiltrate the fort and save Eleanor. Mirabelle gives us a set of guards' armor, and off we go to save our princess. The Blighted Manse is huge, outside and inside. Once inside, we carefully make our way all the way to the top, where Eleanor's been held captive. After an intimate reunion, comes the fun part of this quest. The escape has the Arisen mow down hundreds of guards. Some of them I believe are unique to this quest, like the guard that uses magic. Pretty cool. Making your way down the manse is an adventure. It's cramped, it's dark, it's easy to get lost. Especially when you reach the sewers. The tunnels become large rooms with bridges and water running underneath. On the largest room, sewer bandits, yeah, that's a thing. Sewer bandits come from all over as your pawns rejoin you. And of course, Eleanor can't do anything, so you have to carry her across. Yeah. Making your way outside, Eleanor is finally reunited with her people, making her escape to her homeland. Another mission accomplished. Again, I really like this mission this time around. I really hate the character that it's about, but otherwise, the new location, high stakes, and heavy combat makes this a really standout quest. A warm welcome starts automatically upon slaying Grigori, and seemingly beating the game. The world is thrown into chaos. Cities are destroyed. Cycles are broken. And lies are exposed. It's just a shit show. What a great way to end the game. As we travel to Grand Soren, we are told that the Duke has requested an emergency audience with the Arisen. Old and debilitated, the Duke attempts to strike the Arisen in anger for doing this to him, exposing his lie and bargain with the dragon. This fight is just sad, but I'm not gonna lie, it's satisfying beating the shit out of this guy. Once beaten, he calls for the incarceration of the Arisen, whom he calls a traitor. It's weird being chased around by guards right after defeating the dragon. You would think the world would welcome you and praise the Arisen for his efforts. Of course, it's never as simple as that in this game. Also, I'm just gonna pretend like we didn't just kill like 300 guards during Duchess in Distress. The one NPC that really stung was Maximilian. After going for him for multiple quests throughout the game, he calls a small army against you, and quickly a horde of infinite guards stands against you. We are cornered in front of the Everfall, where we see a glimpse of what could be. Needless to say, as simple and full of cutscenes as this quest is, it makes for a great twist on the happy ending. After defeating the beast, we get a disastrous world to come back to that has gotten worse in every possible way. Every encounter we have goes wrong, as our speculation to what it all means is at an all-time high. As we fall into the Everfall, this part of the quest ends, and we'll see what happens later on. One of the later quests in the game, Honor and Treachery, has Sir Alduus telling the Arisen they must go meet an injured guard with a very important message near the Way Castle. We make our way there just to find out that there was no guard, no message. Another guard tells us to go back with great urgency. Once back, we learn that it was all a ruse to keep the Arisen far away from the capital as possible. As we make our way back, we can see the chaos that's happening inside. We can even see the wings of a beast attacking the area. A cool little detail that I had never noticed before was that you're not allowed to enter from any area but the west door. Once inside, you see the giant beast, the cockatrice, rampaging through the craftsman's quarters. There's a side quest about saving the citizens and saving the Duke's treasures, but I don't think I've ever really paid attention to these. The cockatrice is vicious, being able to soar high, attack with its beak and talons, and even turn you and your pawns onto stone. It feels great to fight a giant monster inside the city. It really makes it feel special. My party and I fought it hard, but eventually it fled. Successfully, we diverted the danger and saved the city from further destruction. Believing that maybe salvation was behind this, Alduus is aware of his mistake of falling for the trap, and thanks the Arisen. Being able to fight a new monster is always a treat, especially one as deadly as the cockatrice. I found this mission to be great. The trek to the Way Castle and back are annoying, but it gives you some motive for the Arisen to be out of town. Plus, at this point of the game, you should really be stocked with Ferrous Stones, or even have possession of the Eternal Ferrous Stone. Either way, great fight. One of the most heartbreaking quests in the game. Pride Before a Fall follows the story of Mercedes, who's investigating the riots happening in Windbluff Tower. If you followed Mercedes' story so far, you'll know that she comes from a faraway land, helping the Worm Hunt, while also trying to prove herself to the people of Grances, as well as her own people, and even prove herself to herself. This culminates after quickly getting to Windbluff Tower. Among all the fighting and all the chaos, two mighty fighters have their own fight going on. Mercedes and Julian trade fighting words, Mercedes fighting for her land, Grances, and her own pride. Julian fighting for his own cause, the death of Grances. The game gives you different options to approach this quest. Sadly, they all culminate on Mercedes losing, no matter what you do. I decided to slay Julian, not revive him, and let Mercedes go. Until later, hopefully. Pride Before a Fall is a beautifully written quest that wraps up the storylines of these two characters that we've known the whole game pretty well. Well, as much as stories in Dragon's Dogma wrap up.
Weighing upon you. After, I shall return here to aid you however I may. I am a fool.
Call of the Arisen starts immediately upon arriving at the encampment, following upon, and for being only the 5th mission in the whole game, it really packs a punch. You hear a strange voice coming from a riftstone. The pawns ask you if you're ready to take the responsibility that it is being an Arisen. I mean, what are you gonna say, no? This is the part that I like. They tell you to look around for a threat that must be quelled. You see everyone being called to action. You step outside just to see your very first Cyclops fight. So badass. Oh, and a bunch of goblins, but who cares? Now, being the first Cyclops, he's not gonna be all that tough, but it's still a lot of fun fighting a big monster with how little you have. After the beast is slayed, they show you a small glimpse of foreshadowing for who might have been behind the attack. This is a short but great mission. Any quest that easily displays a new monster in a short but exciting manner will always be on top.
Leave it to me.
It's your handiwork. For true?
After Call of the Arisen, your party is all ready to move on to the capital. Upon resting for the next day, we see that a Hydra attacks the encampment. The cutscenes in this quest are phenomenal, really showing the strength and size of the monster. As always, it's great to see your party next to so many NPCs fighting together. You're obviously under-leveled, so killing it is not an option. Still, we fight on. Trying to get at least one of the heads. Once chopped, you see a sigil of salvation slightly going away, breadcrumbing the story to come. Once done, you befriend Mercedes and make arrangements to be on your way. Well, you know what happens after. A rude awakening is not crazy by any means, but by now you must know I'm a sucker for huge monsters being showcased in crazy quests, and this is no different. Salvation is back! Sir Maximilian tells the Arisen that there has been more skeletons out and about than usual, terrorizing the good people of Grances. Now we have to Scooby-Doo the situation and get to the bottom of it. Your first order is to spy on this meeting with Salvation. 2 members, one getting cold feet and the other one blindly following orders. I'll get to the chase. Literally. Each member has a key you can use in the catacombs. There are 2 keys in total that these guys give you. Now, for the sake of completion, I wish I could show you what's behind door number 2. I believe it's just a shortcut. But for the life of me, I could not get it. He outran the Arisen. And when I tried loading the game, it was too late, it autosaved. I know there's a strategy for it, but I couldn't do it. You get the easy key, go into catacombs to the area that wasn't accessible before. I loved this area to fight in. Skeleton knights and skeleton mages surge like crazy, one after the other, in super cramped spaces. It's really fun.
Human bones that go on their own.
To open the next door, you need 5 gems of salvation. Just some weird green orbs, I don't know. Once you finally go in, you have to get ready to battle the powerful necromancer that has been behind it all. I wonder who could it be? A crazy man salvation has been saving for you? A powerful mage that wants chaos? Or the Arisen dead? Could it be that Elysion himself could be behind this? Ballsack. It doesn't even deserve me making fun of it. Just Ballsack. As soon as the fight starts, Ballsack will summon a horde of skeleton knights. But god damn it, that's it. Just a reminder, I have not grinded in the slightest, and I am playing on normal mode. This dude has like 300 health. It was so easy that I let my pawn do the slashing. This game has a problem with underwhelming ending for quests, or just underleveling their monsters. Ballsack, Jesus Christ.
I wonder if there are rarities from abroad.
No use struggling.
Harbinger of Destruction is the first instance of you using your own character. Unfortunately for you, the game pits you against an unkillable dragon. Still, it's fun to pretend I'm making a difference. I like the cutscenes for this mission. Your character slowly losing your consciousness as Grigori swallows your heart will always be a great sight. Extremely memorable. Being only the second mission in this game, counting the prologue of course, goes to show they weren't afraid to show you the absolute beast that the dragon is, while also making you excited about the world that is about to come. The cutscenes that are shown to you here are amazing, and perfectly set the tone of urgency and excitement for the rest of the game. Not much else to say about this mission, it's just a great way to start a game. Salamet, a name we had been hearing about all game long, from Stefan's mission, a troublesome tome, to items such as Salamet's secret, and NPCs giving us little details of Salamet's work. So, it's about time we finally meet face to face with the man himself. Rumor is that Salamet is believed to have stolen the Worm King's ring, an extremely valuable item and a symbol of power in Grances, as well as being embedded with magical attunements. We hear rumors of a man and his band strangely passing through the quarry, so we go there. At first glance, Salamet seems like a normal sorcerer, another bandit, but as soon as the fight starts, we see that, oh, yeah, I guess he wasn't that strong. He flees and we later learn that he resides in the Blue Moon Tower. So just like in Griffin's Bane, we make our trek out there for a final showdown. Once there, we see that the Blue Moon Tower is no longer home to skeletons and wild beasts, rather armed rogues from Salamet's group. Making our way to the top just as we did with the Griffin, we see Salamet, on a fight where he looks possessed. Salamet widely teleports from corner to corner, being able to be hit by melee damage. I tried not being too easy by just shooting him with arrows, but once again, it proved that the boss was just way too damn easy. I didn't even kill him. 2 hits from Stinky Kong and he was done for. As every good Arisen knows, you duplicate the ring, keep the real one for yourself, which grants you faster spellcasting, and give the Duke the duplicate one. Sucker.
Farewell.
I love the idea of this quest, a mad mage just going rampant, doing whatever he wants with a dark history behind him. But the fact that he's so easy to overcome in both showdowns is just extremely disappointing.
I trust that you will see my mistress' will done.
I believe the only part of the game where you're actually required to grind. Fathom Deep has the Arisen fall again and again through the Everfall, endlessly going through rooms finding wake stones. After a while welcome, the Arisen ends up falling on the Everfall, where they're greeted by Quince, upon whom we've seen before a long time ago. We are told to prove we have the strength to break the yoke that binds you by some otherworldly voice. So in we go, the Everfall. Each room has a different scenario, different loot, different monsters, but always looking for the same, wake stones. Our goal is to find 20 wake stones to finally open what's beyond. I don't usually mind grinding in games, I often welcome it, but I think this is one of the very few times where I actually look forward to grinding. Discovering which room is which and what surprises it will bring is always a treat. 1 second you could be fighting a worm, another a chimera. It's so fun, and the rewards make it all worth it. All of your efforts in the game, every monster you learned how to fight against, your knowledge tested. I just want to repeat it myself. Probably the only instance in a video game where grinding is actually fun and implemented into the lore of the game in a good way. Fantastic quest. Another one of the Worm Hunt quests. Seeking Salvation has the Arisen looking for clues as to whereabouts of the next meeting of the destructive cult, Salvation. Mason gives you the Badge of Salvation, a mark between its members in hopes they'll share their secrets with you. As we know, it works, and we're quickly on our way to a new dungeon, the Catacombs. The Catacombs are somewhat far from Grand Soren, and it makes for a fun trip. Bandits, wolves, and saurians will wait for you as you cross the river. A griffin even met my bow, but I was too weak to kill it. We'll meet again. The catacombs are great. You are swarmed by darkness as soon as you walk in, being completely cramped by the space here. Of course, the primary enemy here are zombies. You'll be fighting the undead from the moment you get in here to the moment you leave, and it's awesome. You'll also encounter a new type of zombie, the Boomer from Left 4 Dead. Seriously, look at this guy, it's literally a boomer. This fat fuck will gobble around until dead, or until he is debilitated by fire, which will start an exploding sequence. It's gruesome as hell. I even found this gate where 4 or 5 stout undead awaited me on the other side. After going down and down the dungeon, the Arisen find some weird and dark pathways that lead to more zombies, but even an ogre, which I found interesting. Suddenly, we hear Elysion giving a speech to the Lot of Salvation. Finally showing us what Elysion truly is capable of, and what he'll do to his followers for power, and of course, trying to get rid of the Arisen. This scene is gruesome as all hell. It's great. You'll find yourself killing dozens of zombies, which feels really weird after you saw how the cultists were turned into them and sacrificed for them. But hey, they were praying for chaos, and I guess they got it. After all said is done, a new quest begins. Mason, out of all people, calls to you to make an important decision. He caught one Salvation member as he was running away, leaving you with the decision to spare him or kill him. An important philosophical question is about right or wrong, scales of power, responsibility. This is what they wanted: chaos, destruction. But are we, as Arisen, to say who lives and dies? We are, after all, a pawn of past and future. Who am I to choose his fate? On the other hand, I want Mason to like me. Seeking Salvation is fantastic. I mean, it opens so many lore implications about salvation, and of course Elysion, which we'll see more and more throughout the game. I'm glad they put a quest like this early on in the game. I want Mason to like me. Another one of the Worm Hunt quests. The Water God's Altar gives the Arisen the mission to clear out monsters from some ruins and help out the clergymen that were stationed there. Pretty simple. The Water God's Altar is located just beyond the Mountain Way Castle. Upon getting there, Brother Haslet will let you know that Brother Jean has gone missing after adventuring through the ruins. So now you got like 3 missions at once. Explore the ruins and its secrets, get rid of the monsters inside the dungeon, and find Brother Jean's fate. At this point I'm pretty interested in the dungeon. The setup is interesting, and it's rare that we get to talk to NPCs that are involved with the church. Before you even enter the damn place, you're greeted with getting absolutely drenched. From what I can tell, you can't really avoid this when entering this dungeon. I tried. The Water God's Altar is home to bats, saurians, skeleton knights, cyclops, and later on, other monsters that I'll get to. I find this dungeon pretty fun, since it's part cave, part ruins. You'll fight through rooms and rooms of monsters that inhabit this place until finally, you'll find the fate of Brother Jean. Or at least the mushy remains of Brother Jean. And looming in the back, the culprit. I've always loved fighting giant monsters in small areas in this game. Definitely gives it a sense of urgency. You report the mushy remains of Brother Jean to Brother Haslet. Now he'll ask the Arisen to find the slates that are in the ruins. You get a key from killing the Cyclops. Opening the bottom floor that was once filled with water. Now instead of water, the place is flooding with skeleton mages and phantasms. The slates are placed throughout the dungeon, which is fine and dandy, but tell me one thing. Why the fuck are the slates 10 pounds each? Remember, I'm playing as a sleek magic archer. One of these break my back, let alone 5 of them. In fact, I can't carry 5 of them. I am deadly afraid of this mission for one thing only. On my very first playthrough all those years ago, I saw how heavy the slates were. And like any level-headed Arisen, I let my main pawn and the other pawns carry them for me. And they died, all of them. Now, I'm not dumb. I know whenever pawns die, they leave even quest items back in the storage. But I'm not sure if it's because it hadn't been patched or maybe a glitch happened, but the slates were not there for me. So I tried really hard to not hand the slates to my pawns anymore, especially secondary pawns. So Stinky Kong held most of them as we fought waves of skeleton mages before handing the slates back to Brother Haslet. I really like this area, and other than the slates being so heavy, this mission is a blast. I love wondering what the ruins used to be and the lore behind the location. It really is a shame that, well, like many other areas in the game, this is really the only time you'll come here for a quest.
Rumor is, Celine, the witch in the Witchwoods, speaks with the dragon. So naturally, as humans do, they gather outside of Celine's houses and spout their hatred, and even saying that they should hang her. Witch Hunt takes you back to the deep end of the Witchwoods to help out Celine. After defeating the guardian golem,
This is her devilry!
you gain access to a new section of the Witchwoods. Behind it all, where you'll find Celine talking to a ghost. The ghost being Sophia, a former Arisen. She explains that Celine used to be her pawn, and during her passing, she gave part of her human form to Celine, so she could become a human, a process she calls bestowal of spirit. We see this in the ending of the game, as well as hints of it between the Dragonforged and the Fool. The cutscene ends after Sophia's ghost passes, giving Celine a final step on their bestowal of spirit. The mission ends here. There isn't much more to this quest other than the golem fight and opening a new area of the Witchwoods, which we saw what lurks there. But the outstanding amount of lore that is shown in the cutscene alone between Sophia and Celine is incredible. So much exposition about the bestowal of spirits in one go is just what this part of the game needs for you to be engaged in the story. It's also great seeing a connection between the Arisen and their pawns. This cutscene is so important, so I had to include it this high up. Fidel confides in us that he wants to talk to us in private, after dark. Much like Mirabelle. I hope this isn't another adultery quest. We know how that ended. We go back at night to learn that Fidel was waiting for a letter with crucial information, but was destroyed during a monster attack. So we travel where the suspected attack happened to find the remainings of a fight, and a cutscene showing us a gargoyle, the possible culprit. This will lead us to a new location, Soul Flare Canyon. Soul Flare Canyon is, in my opinion, the most underrated location in the whole game. Seriously, it's awesome. This dungeon features beautiful canyons, vast caves, hidden areas, hidden loot, high enemy variety, and all sorts of different paths. Hell, even a Cyclops defending his little bridge. I love it. We see our goal that has settled all the way on the other side of the canyon, so we have to cross it. Traveling through the canyon will take you through all sorts of different ways. Just in the first 5 minutes here, I fought spiders, harpies, saurians, and phantasms. Take into account that this is before the post-game, where even better enemies reside then. The gargoyle has flight, high melee damage, and even torpor damage, being able to turn you into stone. It's a really fun fight. After killing it, we still had to go get our letter. The Cyclops blocking our way decided to absolutely smash us, killing me and sacrificing himself. For nothing, since I had a wake stone, sucker. We finally get our letter after swimming through some rapids. Then it's time to go home. By the way, the letter contains high confidential information about the events happening in Windbluff Tower. So what you want to do is make a copy, give it to one of the soldiers that wants the information, and give another copy back to Fidel. Double XP, baby. The conspirators as well as Soulflare Canyon are massively underrated content that I don't think gets talked about enough in the Dragon's Dogma community. I hope to see more locations like this in the sequel.
I've learned a new way to fight their ilk.
Lore of the Abyss has the Arisen adventure deep into the Everfall, the strange dungeon apparatus underneath Grand Soren. After Off with his head, we meet Barnaby, the speaker for the Pawns Guild, who asks us to investigate the dark aura that the Everfall has recently gained. So we venture forward in this giant spiral through zombies, skeletons, and an ogre. This is a fantastic dungeon, and the feeling of never-ending dread as the enemies get tougher the more you go down never gets old. There's multiple alternative routes and secret paths to take, lots of loot to collect too. The ogre in Lure of the Abyss is always mentioned, since it's the first ogre you'll encounter in the game, and he's tough as hell. The big health pool combined with a variety of attacks makes it for a really fun and engaging battle. After many encounters and battles, you'll finally reach the bottom, where you'll find your first port crystal and the ominous Flame Servant's throne, which upon investigating, evil-eye tentacles will show up in never-ending waves, making you run for your life. During my escape, 2 of my pawns died, making for a narrow escape. Needless to say, this mission is as important as it is memorable. The Everfall is iconic by how gigantic it is. The amount of new enemies and concepts this single quest opens up is almost unparalleled, to a point that it opens more questions than answers it. Lure of the Abyss is one of the best quests in the whole game, a fantastic treat in every playthrough. Deny Salvation serves as a prelude to the last mission in the game, the final battle. After learning of trouble happening at the Great Wall at the hands of Salvation, we travel there to find it absolutely in shambles. This is it. This is Salvation's final attack on Grances. Immediately being welcomed to the fort by 2 armored Cyclops in an army of sirens. You can't go wrong with fighting armored Cyclops. They're always very fun and engaging. Once inside, you can find skeleton knights and even an ominous graveyard from which the undead spawn from. I always found this graveyard very mysterious since the loot here isn't really good, and there's nothing pointing you to head that way. It's just there if you want to fight extra zombies, which I do appreciate. Inside the Great Wall Fort, you can find a great combination of skeleton knights, zombies, and even Salvation rogues casting magic. A fun little side activity this mission gives you is saving the guards that are either being ambushed by multiple enemies or trapped on the other side of the wall. When you help these guards, they usually open up a door for some alternative loot that you wouldn't have access to otherwise. When you finally get to the top after fighting through waves of enemies, you're welcomed by the Elysion, the leader of Salvation, one last time. A final speech by the blasphemy of his words, showing you the extent of his powers and once again sacrificing the lives of his followers in hopes to get rid of you. Except this time, it's not mere zombies, but full-on wights. Flying undead mages. This fight is awesome, to say the least. The hordes of zombies approaching you while you're trying to dodge the spells, it's just great. When it's all done, we finally see Elysion's untimely demise. I remember being speechless, mouth agape, the very first time this happened. I could not believe it. One of the major villains in the game, completely crushed in seconds, while you're being told that everything else is child's play compared to the stakes that you and the dragon hold. Also, nothing can beat an old-fashioned slow-motion camera.
Now choose, flee, or stand firm.
The absolute first quest the game throws at you is the end of the beginning, a prologue tutorial that shows you how the game works and exposes you to the story and themes of the game. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot that this mission even existed, and yes, I will count it as a mission. You kill goblins as snow harpies as Savan, and arisen from ages past. If you've played the game before, you'll recognize the dungeon as the Tainted Mountain Temple, where you adventure through in the mission The Final Battle. One of my favorite aspects of this prologue is how the very first enemy you see is not a goblin or the snow harpies, but Grigori himself talking down to you as fire rains from above. What's cooler than that? The prologue also shows how to attack in different manners, explains pawns, and even tops it all off with an epic battle against a chimera. Sadly, this mission is lost in the New Game Plus, as the cycle continues from your last Arisen, so the only way to play this is from a completely new save. But man, what a badass way to start a game. After proving yourself worthy by not only defeating the dragon, but opening the portal to the hereafter, you must once more prove yourself in completing a series of tasks that the Seneschal gives you, as he tries to explain to you how the world works and how everything is binded together. Needless to say, while the concept and lore here are amazing and top-notch, the actual final fight is beyond lackluster. I'm not sure if this is done on purpose or not, perhaps it is. But I just wish we had a final challenge after just a series of grinding sessions that was the Wakestone chase. The Seneschal even offers us a chance at a normal life, forgetting of your title as Arisen, and understanding that while false, your life would be calm and peaceful. Otherwise, you need to see the faces of all the main people you face through your journey, as they seem to stop you from obtaining ultimate power. I like accumulating the NPCs like the sheep they are, until borderline they're about to kill me.
I was always so afraid.
Seeing them all in one place feels like a cheat or a mod, not real. Once done, a final battle will start. A fight with the previous Seneschal, Savan, whom we saw in the prologue. A cool detail to mention is that if you played previously and got to this point in the game, you will see your previous Arisen and will have to fight them, fortifying the idea of the ever-turning Wheel of Fate. Another detail I want to point out is that if you die while Savan is still Seneschal, you will become the new dragon and start the cycle again. Of course, you relieve Savan of his eternal duty to become Seneschal yourself, before ending it all. The amount of lore, world building, and philosophy the game throws at you in the last 30 minutes of the game is unseen in other games. It's insane how much you learn about the overarching story right before it ends. I love it. It's amazing. Again, it would be higher if the fight was a little bit more challenging, but everything else is absolutely fantastic. Griffin's Bane. Oh man, what a great quest. After being inducted into the Worm Hunt, Aldius, Chamberlain of Duke Edmund, tells you about the giant threat that is the Griffin, who has been tormenting villagers and traders. You go join the other soldiers that have been gathering in this mission outside of the castle, waiting for you. This is one of the few moments in the game where you'll see a party this big. Seeing everyone line up in a fight and talking to each other really makes it feel alive. Each soldier fighting as their own, and each having their own health bar. I really enjoy this part of the mission. I wish there were more areas where you get paired up with competent NPCs. Anyway, you get to Moonshower Cliffs, where you see a new mechanic, baiting the enemy. This even works in the open world. Outside of this mission, you can place a dead oxen or goblins to bait wild griffins down. This is definitely a mechanic I wish they used more. You use a dead goblin's body to bait the griffin down, and as you can see, it works. Seriously, this is beautiful, and what Dragon's Dogma does best, fighting giant fucking monsters in amazing ways. The griffin can fly to stupid highs, do thunderous attacks, and stomp on enemies on the ground. As you can see, I was pretty underleveled, so most of the fighting didn't really phase the griffin. Which is actually what I wanted, since in other playthroughs, I don't even get to the second phase of this mission. It's a shame, since, as we'll see later, the second phase of this quest is even better. If you take long enough to kill the griffin, it'll get bored and fly away to its nest, leaving you and the surviving soldiers behind. Still, our orders persist and we must go kill it. Which takes us to a new part of the map, Blue Moon Tower. The path to the Blue Moon Tower can be pretty dangerous if you're not ready, or in my case, under level. Bandits, snow harpies, and of course the winds of Windtorn Valley are all here to make your journey harder. At least you can always count in this rest camp as a little refresher. On the way to the Blue Moon Tower, you'll also encounter possibly the hardest area yet if this is your first playthrough, Pastorna Cavern. The bandits here kicked my ass hard. All sorts of vocations will be here to kill you, including mages and warriors that just don't give up. I wish I could count how many times my pawns died here. Too many goddamn times. If that wasn't enough, a golem comes out of nowhere, surrounded by snow harpies to help him. It's a fantastic fight. Fighting golems is so much fun. Past Cutlass Cape, you'll finally see it. Blue Moon Tower. Home to overpowered enemies, endless edges, cut content, and fan theories. This place is beautiful and so much fun. An absolute treat to dwell into. As soon as you enter, you'll see the remnants of the soldier party hunting for the griffin, helping you go onward as you go fight through monsters in this dungeon. I was fighting through skeleton mages and skeleton knights, throwing them into the brine, when I saw the Stinky Kong. My mighty pawn was nowhere to be found. Luckily a rift zone is located right outside the dungeon in case this happens. I wonder what happened to him. Yes, it was a mistake. Nearing the top, you'll finally see it. You see it flying around and taunting its victims. You help the soldiers try and find a way to reach the top as the griffin swoops down and kicks our asses. It opens the gates as we push through. When the destruction of the griffin kills all my pawns, leaving only me and the soldiers to fight the griffin. Honestly, it's pretty weird not having the pawns chatter. You get so used to having a full party. It almost seems unnatural not to have a pawn by your side. We finally reach the top of the tower, the griffin's lair. As you can see, my damage combined with the power of the soldier's NPC was not doing much. When out of nowhere, Stefan comes to help. That's right, if you successfully finish a troublesome tome, Stefan will help you against the griffin. And he actually kicks ass, immediately setting it ablaze for me to slash it. Before long, it's dead. I don't think I could have done it without Stefan. The NPCs celebrate and repeat their 3 stance poses. Back in Grand Soren, I bring back Stinky Kong, who upon arriving, immediately heals me. Good old Stinky Kong. This mission is amazing, combining every aspect of Dragon's Dogma and what makes it special. A journey into the unknown, new mechanics that make you think about the beast's function, NPCs that feel alive, dungeons that are worth exploring, connecting quest paths that make the world feel real, and of course, kick-ass giant monsters. I am so thankful that we get such a masterpiece of a quest this early in the game. Seriously, A Fortress Besieged is a classic example of an epic fantasy quest, right down to the objectives, combat, details, monsters, everything. So far in the main quest, you had traveled as far as the ruins of Ernst Castle, home of the Iron Hammers. To reach the Shadow Fort, the Arisen has to travel past the Mamma Mia Trail, past the Witchwood, and past the Ernst Castle, through the Verda woodlands. This trek is great. You'll see bandits, saurians, chimeras, a hidden rest stop with soldiers and vendors, the Riftstone, and Reynard. If you're not careful, you'll actually go through Devilfire Grove. And Devilfire Grove means one thing: the fucking Drake.
At this point of the game, I was not ready to fight it. I attempted it, saw how much damage I actually was doing, and got the hell out of there. Finally, the Arisen reaches the Shadow Fort. As you step inside, you'll see the actual size of everything. This is no small mission. You're in this for the long run. The giant gates are locked, and as the general tells you, we excavate inside the ravaged arena to see the mess that the royal guard is in. 2 Cyclops lay waste to the field as goblins come pouring out of their little goblin holes, as well as 2 ballistas pour down arrows onto your party. If you're fast, you can defeat the goblin on the ballista that's on your side, then shoot across the battlefield. Your first objective is to get the gate open by finding the lever. Thus, the soldiers can help you. This might be the first time in the game you see a fight of this magnitude, and once you get the lever from the jail cell, open up the gate, and see the royal guards flowing in to help you, it gets even more chaotic. Of course, in this run, I had already killed pretty much everything other than the goblins that come in after you open the gate, but if you choose to, the royal guards can help you even with the Cyclops and ballistas. Well, not so much with the ballistas. Once you and the royal guard have defeated all the enemies, Sir Robert will tell you that we must take down the Goblin Chieftain. We enter the fortress and fight our way up against hordes and hordes of leftover goblin scum, just to find yet another Cyclops waiting for us, armored and surrounded by goblins. I'll be truthful, I've died many times in this part. The small area you get to fight them, as well as the combination of different goblins and hobgoblins sprinkled throughout, makes this an awesome and tough fight. After this, we fight our way to the very top of the fortress, where we find the only possible negative I find on this mission. The Goblin Chieftain, the boss of the quest. He is just a hobgoblin with slightly more health. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't really take away much from the amazing journey this quest is. Hell, I don't even think about this boss fight that much. But that's the problem, I don't think about it. I barely remember it every time I play this mission. The horde of goblins outside the door is more interesting than the actual fight. And I gotta admit, it's pretty anticlimactic. Otherwise, it would be at the very top pick for the best quest in this game. Still, once you beat the Chieftain, he lets us in some information alluding to salvation and the overall plan to destroy everything, telling us that
humans want destruction too. Humans want a dragon. Welcome it.
badass. A fortress besiege is a great quest. Not a single second is wasted. From the urgency of the problem, the journey to unexplored areas, amazing fighting arenas, and new story elements that are fun to experience, fight through, and satisfying once finished. This is it. The final battle. An accumulation of everything that you've been doing in the game. All your efforts have led you to this point in time. Every main quest, every side quest, every enemy, it's all settled here. The final battle is automatically started after completing Deny Salvation, where Elysion meets his hand, and the dragon taunts you one last time to challenge him. Back in the Great Wall Fortress, a new path has been opened, one that leads to the Tainted Mountain, the place where the dragon lies. Just like in the prologue, you walk the Tainted Mountain, a rocky pathway where once a city stood. We fight through hordes of enemies until a familiar room opens. In the same way Savon slayed the Chimera in this room, we slay a Gore Chimera. This fight is fierce and a great prelude to what's to come.
Let's be rid of the circuit first.
Slay the healer first.
So that's
Past this room, we're finally in the offering chamber. The dragon here to receive our challenge, and of course to show us our beloved. The one person we took care of, and the one person we gave the Arisen's bond to. Oh, what the fuck? How did that happen? I even gave my Arisen's bond to Celine. I don't think I've ever gotten the beloved I actually wanted. That's just sad. I guess we have to get the actual ending, huh? We accept the challenge and save our beloved. Once we made our decision, Grigori has no hesitation to start the fight. Chasing our party through the ruins of the Tainted Mountain, the party tries to fight the trapped head of the dragon with little luck and little damage done. I love the feeling of scale this scene gives us. The dragon is no small worm. We follow the dragon outside where the second phase begins.
Now, come, Arisen. How do we fight such a thing?
The dragon soars through the air as we, I guess just me since my party teleported, try to get to the tower. The scene and set pieces here are unforgettable. Seeing the dragon spewing fire as he gently lays on the tower is a sight to behold. The sense of urgency is at an all-time high. This is the end, either the dragon or the Arisen. The Arisen reaches the ballista. Finally, we start fighting back. We soar through the air, striking the dragon's heart. Once felled, it's time for phase 3, the final fight. The dragon has multiple attacks he uses repeatedly, some even depending where you're standing, such as striking you with his tail if you're standing behind him. He will also grab you and your palms, cast massive spells, and even fly through the air while you try to shoot him down with the ballista. No matter where, the pawn's forever screaming to aim at his heart. When it's all done, you hear the victory chime one last time. The dragon taunting you one last time, still letting you know that you don't understand anything. The world going into chaos, all the aspects we discussed in a warm welcome are present here. Both quests intertwined, showing you the fate of the Duke, the fate of the Dragonforge, the fate of Grand Soren, and of course, the return of your beating heart. I don't usually use this word, but this quest is epic. Everything about it, the music, the combat, the scale, and of course the stakes of it. The dragon beautifully displaying his power as he throws fire above in the air, precisely insisting fear in your party. The credits roll as you, your party, and your beloved travel back home through a broken Gransys. The final battle perfectly embodies Dragon's Dogma.
You would face me then? Ah, 'tis a fool's choice arisen. But better fool than craven. I knew your mind ere you came. Still, I ask this final time, Arisen, will you stand and fight? Your choice is made, Arisen. As you have willed it, so shall it be.
And there you have it. Every Dragon's Dogma quest ranked. This is the biggest project I have ever worked on, and I loved every second of it. Dragon's Dogma is one of my favorite games of all time, and to finally have a sequel is just a dream come true. To be able to see an ever-growing community of Arisens is a dream come true as well, since I've been there since the beginning, when it was small and plain. To see it flourish to what it is today is amazing. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to hear my beautifully colorful voice again. Also, please check out my Twitch channel, the best variety stream on Twitch. Links will be in the description. I'll see you, Arisens, again. Thank you.